Welcome back, you guys. In one of my previous videos entitled Best Friend to the Rescue, at the end of that video, I did say that I would share with you some signs to know if someone is a true friend or if they're a foe. In this video, I'm going to share with you three separate occasions with three different people that I determined were fake friends. So, in other words, three fake friends exposed. And these are at different times in my life. And it wasn't anything that they didn't all know each other or anything like that. Again, this was for me to determine if someone were truly a friend to so long of having been thought of as that. So I'm going to start with the first one, and this is years ago. I had been approached by a university to begin teaching some classes for them. They were parenting classes, which I was excited about because, well, not because I was a parent, but I knew that any of the information I would be sharing with the parents would also be information I can use as a parent. So it would, to me, it would be a win-win type situation. Well, the person from the university that approached me because they were able to see how I communicated with my colleagues on a job that I had already been in, and they were able to see, and this was at a community center, so they saw how I interacted with the students as well as how I interacted with their parents and how I interacted with my colleagues, and they just were kind of impressed. So they approached me to make a job offer to me, or at least ask me if I may be interested in, you know, their that position. Now, I was already working, at the community center, and the university had a working coalition with this community center. So they wanted to do things the right way, and they asked me if they approached my manager about it, would it be something that I'll be interested in? And of course, I was. It was a huge bump in pay, a huge bump in prestige. Not that I go for that in my life, but that was a part of the package. And I would be doing something that I really enjoyed doing. Well, there was one of my colleagues that happened to get wind of this information. So, first of all, she saw me speaking with one of the associates from the university, and then she saw that person go into our manager's office. And I'm sure she didn't know what was going on, but she started asking questions and things like that. And this particular person was kind of getting into a relationship with the manager, so it wouldn't take much for her to find out what was being offered to me. And um, the person from the university that had initially approached me, about a week later, she asked if she could speak to me privately. And I said, sure. And we went into one of the empty offices there, and this person seemed a bit distraught. And she was saying that they had went to the manager to ask about my being able to be offered a position there at the university, and that the manager at first seemed, enthusiastic and happy about it, but then a couple of days later he went to that university to see if that position could be given to this lady that he was going to be dating. So the person that was talking to me said she just thought it would be best if I were aware of that, because they did not want that other person, because they had also um, monitored her behavior with the parents and with the students. This person was I don't really want to say standoffish, because, different people have different objectives when they're communicating with people and everything. But she wasn't a personable person. She wasn't someone that made people feel really comfortable um, around her or anything like that. So that was really something, because that person I had considered as a very good friend of mine up to that point. And my thing was, though, and I know a lot of people say, well, okay, that what really is for you will be for you. And I get that. But there are some times when we also have to put a foot forward to ensure what it is that we're trying to accomplish. We're doing our best to do so as well. So I didn't want to say anything negative about the entire situation or anything like that. I was thinking, well, maybe both of us could apply, and whichever one that they wanted to go with, that would be that. So, just to let you know how that situation turned out, that university was really hell bent on me having that position, and so they also gave that lady a position as well, and it was in the same program. But um, the way that that turned out for her, we had to actually go out to the parents, homes, to meet them, let them know what the program would be about, what the expectations were with them with being in these parenting classes. And one time they asked me to have this person come along with me to see how I interacted with parents and things like that. And, all of many of the parents were um, like well, I don't know how to say it. Not all of them, but there were some parents that were like low to moderate income levels, and the lower income levels, of course, lived in areas where this other lady didn't feel safe. And I get it, you know. Um, and it's not like I can go anywhere and say I can take care of myself. But I understood my thing is meeting people where they're at. And so we went to one of the parents' homes, and it was kind of chaotic and it wasn't pristine clean. And the lady offered us, a glass of lemonade. And, I like I said, I meet people where they're at, and I was fine with that. And I wanted her, you know, I wanted all of us to feel comfortable in that space. And so I cheerfully said yes. And before I could get my yes out, this lady they had asked me to bring with me to the parents' house, she pulled her coat, tied her to her as if she didn't want something to get on her. And she said, no, no lemonade for me. Thank you very much. And the parent caught on to that right away. And we continued on with our meeting and everything. And as we were leaving her home, the parent tapped me on the shoulder because the other lady had just like stepped out onto the porch and she was headed to the car. And that parent said, ma'am, I don't know what this program would do for me or my kids, but I definitely want you to come back and I want to sign up under you, but please do not bring that lady back to my home again. She said she was not comfortable here and she didn't like it. And I understood that. I mean, it was the body language. The other person sat there, arms folded. She didn't really participate and she wasn't happy for being there. But that's what happens sometimes when people are trying to usurp themselves into positions and into places where they shouldn't be. But that's how that one turned out. And, again, I found out that she was not a friend trying to go behind my back and then go to the manager and to have her manager boyfriend go to the university to ask that she has that position rather than me. But, what can you say? Now, another event that happened to me, and this was years later after I'd moved from Lansing. Was I still in Lansing? No, I said Lansing. After I moved from um, Detroit. So this was actually earlier in my life because the one I just told you about was when I lived in Lansing. So this is when I very first had the um, decided to divorce my husband and move to Lansing. And I gotten a home for me and my girls. But because I was recently divorced and looking for a job and moving to a new city, I wasn't employed yet. So I was on assistance, family assistance. They call it welfare now, but at the time it was aid. That's what it was, aid to independent families or something like that. I don't know. It's been years, so and I haven't been on that for decades. But anyway, I had a friend that had offered to. Well, I had went to visit some family members in Detroit, and when I visited this particular friend, she said, "Hey, how are you guys getting back? To Lansing?" And I said, "Well, we were going to go, catch the Greyhound bus because that's what you do back in the day when you don't have transportation." And she said, "No, I can take you." And I was like, "You're going to take me all the way from Detroit to Lansing, you know?" And again, it's only like a 55-minute ride or an hour, but still, that's an hour of her time, her energy, her, her gas, all of that. She said, "Yeah, I'll take you and the girls, no problem." So after we were done visiting, it was kind of late evening, so 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. And we all got packed into a car, packed into a car. We all got into a car and, we're talking and she's driving us back. Well, again, remember it takes about an hour. So halfway there, she mentioned that she would have to go to the restroom as soon as she, got to my place, which is fine. I'm like, okay, yeah, I do have a bathroom. So we got to my home, and this was okay. You guys have to understand something. No matter what my circumstances are financially in my life, I'm going to make sure that the places that I've lived in are really nice. Um, and so this house was a two-story home. I mean, I was a family of four, so I had three small daughters, and this house had, a upstairs and a downstairs. And it was kind of huge, which was a good thing for me. But anyway, so as we got into the driveway of the home, my friend said, "Well, whose house is this?" And I said, "This is where we live." She goes, "You guys live in this big house?" I was like, "Well, we're renting. It's not like I'm buying it. I can't afford anything, whatever." And so she said, "No, no, no issues. I just have to use the restroom really quickly." And so we got out of the car and we walked into the house and she said, she's looking around and she's like, "Well, where's the restroom?" I said, "It's upstairs." And she said, "This is one house?" And I was like, "Yes." She said, "All of this is yours." Again, I'm renting. The house doesn't belong to me. I'm still trying to look for a job. And I was like, This is the house." You would never believe what she said or what she did. Remember, we were halfway to my house when she said she had to desperately go to the restroom. When she found out that this house was one place and it was two stories, she said, "Never mind, I'll wait till I get back to Detroit." She didn't want to see the house. She didn't want to go upstairs. She was upset that me, who wasn't working, was it me or I? You wouldn't think I was an English major sometimes, the way I speak. But she was so jealous. Now, I have to tell you something. I didn't realize that's what the issue was at first. I'm like, why would she come all the way here and then get upset that I have an upstairs and then the bathroom is upstairs? I mean, if you have to go, you have to go. But she looked around that house like, what the hell? And I'm thinking, and I didn't again, like I said, think about this at the time, but she must have been thinking, oh, she's not working. She's on the Greyhound bus. I'm gonna go see what her place looks like. And she was not happy when she saw it because, like I said, it was a nice home in a nice area with an upstairs. So I was like, oh, that was very interesting. And needless to say, she never called or came back out to visit or anything. And it was very interesting because this one had been a friend of mine for years. We had worked together, we had known each other, she had babysat. I mean, just a good friend, or so I thought, which is fine. I get it. And then the third friend, again, this is all separate. They don't know each other or anything like that, but it had to do with the same house, same circumstances. I'm still well, at this time, I was working part time, so I had found employment, but it was only part time. And my thing is, I need full time employment because I'm a full time person. And I had a relative that wanted to come up to Lansing to visit me and the girls and, spend some time with us. And again, I guess people are thinking, well, she can't be living too well, you know. And this person got to the house, and you guys, it was almost the same reaction. He was like, "This this whole house is yours?" And I was like, nothing is mine if I haven't paid for it. Okay. I'm renting. Hello. And so he said, "And the upstairs is yours too? It's not a like separate family?" And I was like, "No, this is a one family unit. It's home." I mean, what the hell? Have you guys never heard of people renting a house that has a second floor? So He also did not want to go upstairs because I guess they were like, that's more than what she she should have. Now, and I'm going to tell you something about all three of these people once I finish this one up. So, he asked for some water, and I said, "Well, let's go to the kitchen." And of course, the kitchen was a nice, spacious kitchen. Uh, and while we were there, I gave him some water from the refrigerator and got ice and that kind of thing. And then, he finished his water. Now, you got to remember, he hasn't been in this house long. He's just, I just wanted, I want some water. Okay. So, I told him because he had ice in his glass. And once he was done, I said, well, just dump it in in the sink. I can, use the garbage disposal. This guy says, you have a garbage disposal? And I said, yeah, the house does. Yeah. He was like, and you also are getting aid. And I was like, yeah, that's par for the course. I mean, I'm not sure where you're going with this. And then it dawned on me, he was thinking, well, why should you have it? Oh, well, no. What he said was, I don't even have a garbage disposal. And this guy had a beautiful, I call them baby mansions in city of in Oak Park, which is closer to Detroit, outside of Detroit. Beautiful home, beautiful vehicle, nice job. You work, your wife worked, you got two incomes, and you're worried about me having a garbage disposal while I'm on welfare. Okay. So he was so upset over the knowledge that this house had a garbage disposal that he said, well, I couldn't stay long anyway. I just came to see how you and the girls were doing. I'll have to go. I'm like, "You- are you freaking kidding me right now?" Now, to wrap all of this up, all three of these people had their own beautiful homes. All of them had two-story homes. So they already had what they are so upset that I have. And I was just amazed at their reaction to it all. I'm like, what the hell? So as long as I'm not having anything and down and out and trying to get back on my feet after my divorce, all of you guys were fine with all of that. But don't let me get a two-story home with a garbage disposal and a bathroom upstairs. So to bring all of this together, I had a friend there in Lansing, and yeah, this one really was a friend, okay? And she didn't know about any of these incidents or anything like that. And she and I just happened to be talking one day, and this friend just looked at me at one point, and I said, "What? What's wrong?" And she said, I know you're like to be positive and you're optimistic. She said, but you need to know that everyone that you think is a friend is not a friend. And you guys, we weren't even talking about friends or friendships or anything like that. So I didn't know what had brought that up. And I said, what are you talking about? I'm pretty sure I can tell when someone's a friend or not. And she said, no, Sherry, sometimes people are jealous of you. And I'm like, there's nothing to be jealous of. First of all, anything that I have, anyone can do because I'm no one special. And we all have the same opportunities, even when we think we don't. And she said, no, Sherry, sometimes even I'm jealous of you. And I'm like, what the hell? I said, okay, we're both single parents, both through divorce. Both of us have kids that are 7 and under. So we both had young kids. Both of us, well, we didn't live in the same neighborhood. So she did live in a place that was not near where I lived, and she didn't like her neighborhood, and it had a high crime rate, and so that I can kind of see. But I was like, but I don't control the crime rate of the area that I live in, so you can't be jealous of something that I haven't even created. I mean, both of us were without cars. Both of us were on aid to dependent children. Both of us had young kids. I'm like, what? Neither one of us had a car. I was like, what is there to be jealous of? And she did say something that, again, sometimes I say when people are jealous or envious of something you may have or something that they perceive you have, it's not anything that they can't also have. But she said, you have kids that are mannerable and respectful. And I'm thinking you could have that too. Your kids are all still under 7. There's no reason why you can't, start to implement rules or anything. But I didn't say that because that would be rude. And I can be rude, but why would I be? So she said, I just wanted to let you know that sometimes, you really need to be careful. And she said, and I've worked really hard to not be envious of you, and you really are a good person, and I want to have you in my life, but I just wanted to share that with you. So in my next video, I'm going to talk about the 5 signs to look out for to determine if someone is your friend or if they're just faking the funk, or as some people say, your frenemy, which to me is just ridiculous. Either they're your friend or they're your enemy. And if you have them in your life thinking that they're a frenemy, the problem isn't with them. Unfortunately, you know what's coming. It's with you. So this is Sherry. This is Life Lessons Learned. Remember, my mantra is knowledge is in the knowing, but wisdom is in the doing. And the true lesson, I always get that mixed up. The true learning of a lesson is the application of it. So my question to you is, what wisdom are you partaking in for this week in your life? What lessons are you learning, and which ones are you applying moving forward in your life? To my wisdom walkers, I want to thank you for always returning to my channel. Start to leave some comments, you guys. I want to see what's going on with you all. And for new viewers, if you're so inclined, please hit the subscribe button. Also, leave comments. Share with me some of the times that you discovered someone who you thought was a friend, and even if they were friends for years, what occurred in your life that made you determine perhaps this isn't all is not what it should be, or all that glitters isn't gold. I'll see you guys on the next take. Thanks. Bye bye.